Well now, pull up a chair and listen to this old-timer for a spell. It seems to me that in this whiz-bang, fast-paced world we've built, we've started to mistake knowing things for understanding them. There's a new kind of arrogance I see, especially in the younger folks. Bless their hearts. They've got this little box in their pocket that can answer any question they can think to ask, and they've started to believe that makes them smarter than all the generations that came before them. They think that having Google is the same as having wisdom. If you agree that there's more to life than what a search engine can tell you, do an old man a favor and tap that like button and subscribe, because we have a lot to talk about. The other day, I was sitting with my grandson, a fine young man, bright as a new penny. I was telling him about the time my old car broke down in the middle of nowhere, miles from the nearest town, long before any of us had a phone we could carry around. I was telling him how I had to use what I knew about the land, about the stars, to find my way to a farmhouse. How I had to use a bit of wire from a fence to patch up a hose just to get the engine to turn over again. And you know what he did? He rolled his eyes. He actually rolled his eyes at me and said, "Grandpa, I would have just Googled how to fix it and called for a ride." He just couldn't grasp a world where the answers weren't instantly available, where you had to rely on your own wits and the lessons life had taught you. To him, my story of survival and ingenuity was just a quaint, inefficient tale from the dark ages. And it's not just in families. I'm seeing it everywhere. I have a friend, worked at the same company for 40 years, knew the business inside and out like the back of his hand. He had a feel for the market, an intuition that you can't teach in a business school, something he'd earned through decades of trial and error, of watching trends come and go. Last month, they let him go. They said he wasn't keeping up. What they meant was he wasn't fast enough with some newfangled project management app they'd all started using. They replaced his 40 years of hard-won wisdom with a 20-something kid who knew how to click the right buttons on a screen. They threw away a library for a pamphlet, and they thought they were being efficient. It's a tragedy, a quiet one that's happening in offices and workplaces all over the country. We're trading seasoned judgment for speedy spreadsheets. It makes me think about how things used to be and how they still are in many parts of the world. I remember stories my own grandfather told me about the old country. In his village, when there was a problem to be solved, a decision to be made for the community, who did they turn to? They went to the elders. They didn't poll the young and impulsive. They sought out the ones who had seen the most winters, the ones whose faces were maps of a long life filled with successes and failures. Their gray hair wasn't a sign of being outdated. It was a badge of honor, a symbol of a deep well of experience. In so many traditional cultures, the elders are revered. They are the living libraries, the keepers of the stories and the lessons that hold a society together. They are honored because the community understands that you cannot download a lifetime of perspective. Now, look at us. What do? We ship our elders off to retirement homes. We dismiss their advice as old-fashioned. We patronize them, and we idolize the young and the new. We've become a society that worships at the altar of novelty, convinced that the latest thing is always the best thing. We are, and I say this with a heavy heart, throwing away our most precious, irreplaceable resource, the accumulated wisdom of generations. We're tossing out priceless jewels because we're too busy being mesmerized by shiny pebbles. This isn't just a shame. It's a profound danger to the very fabric of our society. When a generation believes it knows everything because it can look everything up, it loses its humility. It loses its connection to the past, and I fear its ability to navigate the future with any real foresight. Think about what we're losing. We're losing the stories of resilience, the first-hand accounts of navigating economic depressions and world conflicts. We're losing the practical skills, the kind you can't learn from a 5-minute video, like how to grow your own food, how to mend your own clothes, how to fix things that are broken instead of just throwing them away. We are losing the art of patience, The understanding that some problems take time and quiet contemplation to solve, not just a frantic series of clicks. We're losing the emotional intelligence that comes from a lifetime of navigating complex human relationships, of learning forgiveness, and of understanding that people are more complicated than a social media profile. This is the wisdom that Google can't give you. It's earned, it's lived, it's etched into the soul through experience. The arrogance of it all is what truly gets under my skin. It's the belief that because you have access to information, you have ownership of knowledge, and that knowledge is the same as wisdom. It isn't. Information is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Knowledge is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. But wisdom? Wisdom is tasting that tomato, ripened on the vine under a summer sun, and understanding the months of care, the good soil, the right amount of rain that went into it, and feeling a sense of gratitude for it all. It's a depth of understanding that can't be quantified or indexed by an algorithm. It's the ability to see the bigger picture, to connect the dots in a way that a machine, for all its power, simply cannot. A search engine can tell you the path, but it can't tell you about the journey. I worry about these young people. They are being raised on a diet of instant gratification and digital certainty. What will happen when they face a problem that has no easy answer? A situation that isn't in the database? What happens when they have to make a moral choice? A decision that requires not just facts, but a deeply felt sense of right and wrong, honed over years of living? Life has a way of throwing curveballs, of presenting us with situations that are messy, ambiguous, and emotionally charged. A search for how to handle heartbreak or how to find purpose after failure will give you lists and articles, but it won't sit with you in the quiet of the night and share a story of its own pain. A story that lets you know you're not alone and that this too shall pass. That is the gift of a human elder, of someone who has walked the path before you. So what's the solution? I don't pretend to have all the answers. I'm just an old man with his thoughts. But it seems to me it starts with a little bit of humility. It starts with the young putting down their phones for a moment and actually listening, truly listening to the stories of their parents and grandparents, not as dusty old history lessons, but as valuable guides to the human condition. It starts with us, the older generation, being patient and finding new ways to share what we know, to bridge this gap that technology has widened. It means companies realizing that a balance of youthful energy and seasoned experience is far more powerful than either one alone. It means valuing people over platforms. It means we have to consciously decide to honor our elders again, not out of mere tradition, but out of a practical understanding that their wisdom is essential for a healthy society. We need to create spaces where generations can connect and learn from one another. Let's ask our grandparents about their lives. Let's invite our older neighbors for dinner. Let's listen to their stories, not with impatience, but with the respect and curiosity they deserve. The answers to some of our biggest problems might not be on the internet. They might be sitting in a rocking chair right down the street. Let us not be the generation that threw away the map because we were too proud to ask for directions from those who had already traveled the road. Thank you for lending me your ear for these past few minutes. It does an old heart good to know someone is still willing to listen. If any of this resonated with you, if you believe in the power of lived experience, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And I'd truly love to read your thoughts in the comments. Tell me a piece of wisdom an elder shared with you. Let's fill this digital space with some real human connection. Thank you again.